Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you are doing well. We are back with our trade targets ahead of round 8 of the AFL season. If you've been enjoying the videos, make sure you smash a thumbs up on this video and you subscribe because the numbers on the channel have been fantastic over the last few weeks and everyone supporting the channel is making it a lot better for everyone else. And make sure you get in the comments, let me know what your trade plans are for round 8. So let's get into it. The number one traded in player so far with 7.7 thousand trade-ins is Christian Petrarca, one of the highest traded in players from round 7. He's gone up 30k last week, up to 919k. 300s in a row, 104, 100, 114 ahead of West Coast. A midfield of Hawthorn that's really struggling, then gets a few tough games before. To be fair, St Kilda's an easier matchup, but then Collingwood and Port is hard. But at 919 as a forward, Christian Petrarca is still a very, very solid upgrade, especially if you're going Davidson and an Ashcroft out and you're getting Christian Petrarca on the other end of it. I think that is a very, very solid move for your teams. I went and got Christian Petrarca in last week for my side as a Davidson sort of move, which for me was fantastic. So definitely ticking this one off. Playing midfield time, he's looking really good. Melbourne, although they're not looking fantastic, the ball is being in Petrarca's hands. When we look at his numbers, he's had, 28 touches, 7 marks, 4 tackles, 2 goals, just doing everything possible to keep his spot and keep the role in that Melbourne side. So let's move it on. The number 2 most traded in player is Jed Buslinger, who for some reason his numbers aren't coming up here against the Giants, but he did score a 42 against the Giants last week. He only went up 16k, up to 246. I think we'll see what teams do on Thursday night and see who else is named in their sides for this week. If Buslinger is the only defender named, I don't mind him as a downgrade option. I think Liam Jones does come back into this side at some point, but I don't think we've got too many more options. So he's definitely an option if you're wanting to get off of a prior Reed trainer and then move somebody else up. I could definitely see that happening, but 7,500 people making that move is a lot to consider when he's got the Port Adelaide matchup and then Gold Coast, which isn't the worst, but then Essendon and Geelong aren't too bad before the bye. In at 3, Hugh Boxel. Again, we know he hasn't played just yet, but with Garcia getting subbed and outed by Ross Lyon, I'd expect him to be named this week. St Kilda play Friday night, so we'll know pretty early if Boxel is the sub. If he's not the sub, I reckon you could almost launch straight into Boxel. I'm probably not looking there because, as I showed you last night in my team, my value's more in my forward line and my defence. So Moraes hasn't probably made the money that I can get the upgrades that I want. But if you've got Levi Ashcroft sitting in your midfield and you want to make an upgrade and you want Boxel, then no problem there. Ned Long's an interesting one. I spent all week last week saying he's not my favourite trade target. And in 67% game time in wet conditions, he still went and had 22 touches, 7 marks and 4 tackles and popped the 95. I still don't love it, especially now at 660k. I think you just got to let this one go. He's getting too expensive. Fantastic if you manage to bring him in around that Sydney game, if you trusted that he was going to play good minutes. One that I've probably missed in AFL Fantasy, still probably gettable in Supercoach at 300k, but in AFL Dream Team, what we're talking about, I think you just got to let Ned Long go. I think a lot of people here, 4.1 thousand people, are chasing that versus what he has already done. So I think you just got to let Ned Long go because he has made that money. The break-even's at 33, so it's not saying he's not going to make more money, but I think the role is just not going to allow him to keep scoring at a rate where he makes huge money. Nick Dayos, I think, is at 1.1 million, give or take, still is a fantastic option to bring in. He is just an elite footballer, 136, 131, 120 in that stretch of games. I think if you're going to pay up for anybody, it's Nick Dayos. I've got him in ahead of that Brisbane matchup. So I've got 131 and 120 out of him over the last 2 weeks. Geelong's midfield isn't looking great. He should be able to run over Fremantle who don't tag. Same with the Crows. Same with North Melbourne. Hawthorn probably have Connor Nash back by then, and then Melbourne, Viney won't be able to run with him. He's just too good. His engine's just too good. People just won't be able to stay with him, and he's the perfect AFL fantasy option. So if you can get him in, I think you just got to make it happen with a Nicky Dayos. Chad Warner. I still don't think this is the option. At 8.55, I think there are better forward options than a Chad Warner. I can see why people now, the CBAs were up. He was the highest CBA attender. Had Heaney out injured in the second half. Bedford tag coming this week if he is going to play midfield. His 120 still required 2 goals. That's what I don't like particularly. I like that the marks and the tackles were up. Chad Warner, though, is someone who he fluctuates with his performances. I'm not sold that he's going to be this 100 midfield forward type operator. So I'd like to have another watch of a Chad Warner this week. If he goes well, I don't mind the stretch from Essendon, Carlton, Melbourne, Adelaide, Richmond up until the bye. But then I don't like the Port, Brisbane, sort of Fremantle areas. But he, you know, if he's your F6, he's not the worst option. So Chad Warner, I think there's better options if you can scrape up to them, and I'll maybe talk about a couple of them a little bit later, but they're not in this stretch of 10. 1.9 people are bringing in Xavier Lindsay. I really don't understand why you'd bring in Xavier Lindsay at 5.28. Who are you selling to get Lindsay in? Break even of 26. He's really restarted that cash gen with a big score there, 98 against Richmond. Time on ground wasn't fantastic. Has West Coast this week, though, so I expect short-term for him to be a good scorer, but I would not be bringing him in. Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera, one of my boys as well, who I brought in from that Richmond game, played in the midfield and had 32 touches and popped a 130 with a goal, 6 marks, 4 tackles, lower time on ground because of the midfield minutes that he was playing. I think we might see the midfield minutes still here this week, but next week it sounds like Philippou could be back, Steele's going to be back, McRae's in. I think there's enough midfielders around the side with a Windhager where he probably rolls back to half back against Carlton. So I don't think I'd want to be buying a Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera right now because a bit of uncertainty around the role. It doesn't mean he's not going to score well, but when you're paying him over $1 million for a player, you want to have certainty over their role. And I'd probably lean on Sinclair now just because you know even if Sinclair plays midfield or half back, we've seen him score in both roles. Where with Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera, yes, we've seen him score in the midfield, but his time on ground is what suffers in that area. So I wouldn't be buying him. 1.8 people have gone in and started buying him. I can see why they're buying him because the scoring's there, but I'm just buy and beware. James Tunstall was the sub last week. I did speak about me bringing him in at this point because I just don't know who's there. He's not named as the sub, but they play the last game of the round. So again, I don't want to commit to Tunstall, but at least I know I can make my moves happen, even if a 230 comes available because Tunstall's more expensive. So look, I wouldn't be going there. 1.5k, I think they're kind of placeholding a Tunstall in case a forward option emerges. And probably one of my favourite trade targets for this week is a Josh Dayos. So in my team, what I have to decide is, am I moving Tom Stewart or am I going to move a rookie? If I move Tom Stewart, it's to Josh Dayos. He looks incredible and he actually looks better when Collingwood's full team's there. When Perryman's in there, when Houston's in there, he looks $1 million because he can just get that loose ball at halfback and just do what he needs to do. 9 marks in the wet against Essendon for a 120. Gets Geelong, Fremantle, Crows North, Hawthorn and Melbourne. Very good run into the bye. Round 14 bye, so it's in the middle between 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm happy to launch into a Josh Dayos. At 9.14, you're not going to get him a whole lot cheaper than that. Very, very good option. He's not going to be a 100 averager, but he's going to be at least a 90, 95 average throughout the season. And I think at D6, that is something that we can get around. The last few options here, Matty Carroll, I feel like he's probably gone now, 367. Job security's good. Time on ground's real good. Scoring's not fantastic, but I'm not a huge fan of him in the 370 bracket, so I'm not too happy about that. Jake Bowie keeps just deceiving me. I said a few weeks ago I wasn't keen on it because of May and Lever, and then they keep sort of being in, out, and he just keeps racking the ball up, and now he's really popping some ceiling scores with a good run. But at 8-8-6, I think you just go with a Josh Dayos because you know best 22 Josh Dayos is going to have the ball in his hands. Campbell Gray was subbed, not ideal. Same with Hamish Davis. Caden Cleary, I reckon now with that 82 is probably just getting away from us at 457. I don't think you're going to get a good upgrade on the other end. And a Tristan Xerri I really like. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of options here that I would go. I definitely wouldn't go Oscar McDonald because apparently Luke Jackson is back this week. So they're the trade-in targets. The trade-out at 9.3 thousand is Sam Davidson. Can understand this. He's made his money. His break-even's up to 65. So time to sell. Same with the Hugo Garcia. If you own both of these guys, one down, one up, get a forward target is what I would be doing. What I'm doing is I'm getting rid of Levi Ashcroft, who is down here, and bringing in a Nick Martin, so I can afford any forward, and that's where I'm going. Sam Layla, same thing, downgrade. You can see by all these sell outs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the top 9 are all rookies. So everyone's cashing in this week. I don't think I need to go through all of these options and tell you why they're good trade out targets. I think it's time one rookie out or two rookies out for one rookie in and a upgrade. So as you can see, what I would be doing is the two rookies that get me the upgrade I want and the cheapest rookie that gets me those upgrades. So for me, I can't do a whole lot because my cash isn't in a great spot from some of the upgrades I've done. I've gone and bought Brayshaw. I've gone and brought in Dayos. So I've gone up to the ceiling a few times, and I'm actually going to the ceiling again because I don't like the forward options that are there because I've already got Petrarca. So I'm pretty much stuck between the value option for me forward is a Warner, but I'd just rather go Nick Martin. I would just be going, where am I getting rid of my rookies and then who can I get? So that's what I'd be doing for my trades this week. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are for your trades. Let me know what you're going to do. Adam Chera is the only one probably here that if he gets offered a game, I'm just going to hold him between Lindsay and Moraes. I think you can cover that for 1 week and just keep moving forward is what I would be doing. But again, up to you guys how you want to manage that, because if you trade Chera out, everyone else gets Chera back next week, and then they would have brought in a premium this week, so they're gaining the premium, and they're going to bring a premium in next week. So I just think you hold Chera for 1 game. So let me know in the comments what you're doing. They're my trade plans. We'll have a live stream tomorrow as well. So on Wednesday night, there will be a live stream. So make sure you have notifications on for when we go live, and I'll see you there in the live stream to answer all your questions.